Damn, son, where'd you find this?
People don't be offended by the truth. They be offended because you called out the truth. Simple as that. They don't want to hear any other narrative that makes them look bad.
One thing I can't stand at this big grown age is somebody who act like cause and effect does not exist. Like, yes, your actions caused this outcome. Yes, what you did lit the match. Like, why are you surprised and playing victim?
Guys, Chico, they never lied.
That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late. They cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're no. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll tolerate it.
Mantra, slave songs, slave ship, rip skin, made me rip bones. But no matter how close I hide, my ancestors speak. They tell me the tide isn't front on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep. Longing to sing until I surpass peak. Until they think we are equal, please. All I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their bones would bleed. Begging the generations remember our story.
Peace and blessings, glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. I hope all is well with everybody. Let me get this up on the screen. There we go. That's better. Much better. I hope all is well with everybody. Appreciate you for being here with us this morning. We finally got some snow. Yes. I'm probably the only person that still loves snow. I'm a big ass kid at my grown age. I'll still be out there making igloos and all that shit. Yup. What's good though, man? I got Coach Trail in the building, man. What's up with you, bro?
Nothing, man. Hey, man, power of manifestation, man. You said you wanted it, you got it.
Hey, I woke up this morning. I went on IG and I said to somebody, I wish we got snow. And then as soon as I look out the window, it's just coming down. I'm like, okay, that's it. That's what we doing today. We manifesting. We bringing things to light. I love it. Chef, Arcana, all of y'all, man, much love to you. Appreciate y'all for holding it down in the comments section, man. I hope your Friday is going well. I got a clip I'm gonna bring up here. Somebody shared it with me this morning. I said, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this up. What's going on? 486-6486. Salutes. Happy Friday. Hope all is well with you. I'm gonna bring this up on the big screen. And yes, Jesus does love all of us. God bless you as well, you and your family, man. Real talk. Let's get this up here, and I'm gonna let it play out. It's not a very long clip, but it'll give y'all some context as to why we are here, and we'll just go from there, man. Rideshare driver helps woman escape a domestic violence situation as they are chased and rammed by her husband. Crazy work. Let's get in it.
Oh, what the heck? Oh my God. Yes, please, for someone is ramming us.
Okay, I'm calling 911 right now.
Yes, please. Help, please, help. Oh my God. Help us. Help, please, help. Yes, here it comes. Do you know him? The police station, please. Where's the police station at? I don't know. Still behind us. I'm fine. Help! Help! You're running. We're running down for a plane right now. You're not. You're not. Yes. Oh,
Imagine being a Uber driver or a Lyft driver or a taxi driver or just a driver in general. You just doing your job. You get a ping to go pick somebody up. You just think, oh, I'm just about to give me another passenger, make me a couple dollars here and there. But the catch is, this is a particular case. This ain't no regular driver or regular passenger. Nah. This woman is trying to escape something. Now, I don't know what the conversation was when she got in the car with the woman. I don't know if she gave her a heads up about what was going on. But you get this woman in the car with you. You get ready to pull off, and then out of the blue, some random person just starts following you and then ramming into the back of your car. What's your initial thoughts on this video from first watch?
Man, it's horrifying. Just listening to the voice, the panic. It's like watching a scary movie. You know what I mean? It's definitely a horrible feeling. And then just questions come to mind, like you said. Did she give her a heads up when she got in the vehicle? You know, at what point did everything kind of start to go awry? So, yeah, man, frightening experience, and definitely don't wish that on anybody. But that's unfortunate.
I got first and foremost, I gotta salute the woman, the driver, man, because you just got put in something that you ain't signed up for. As a driver, you don't really have classes for stuff like this. I don't think that they have training for things like this. If they do, then that's awesome. But I highly doubt that these establishments are bringing these men and women under one building on a year-to-year basis, talking about safety measures and security procedures in the case of fires and dealing with drunk people, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think that that's something that they actually do. And I've caught plenty of drivers over the last 6 years or so, and I would always ask at least this one particular question: do you guys ever meet each other? Like, do you have staff meetings? Do you have parties? Do you have any type of gatherings between you and other drivers? I mean, because you're all doing the same thing. They all say, nah, nope, we don't. So I want to give a shout out to her, because for one, I'm pretty sure she doesn't know, oh, here's a warning, I have a hostile situation that might potentially put you at risk. She had to adjust and figure it out on the fly. And on top of that, you still were willing to put yourself at risk to help this other person get out of a situation, even after being surprised at what was going on. So shout out to her, but that definitely would freak anybody out, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. Fight or flight definitely kicked in, and she chose fight and flight. The type of training, yeah, there's training for evasive driver training and different things like that. But those are the things security officers, military, and government officials that they learn. The average person that's an Uber driver or a Lyft driver, they definitely aren't getting that training. But then you got to look at too, as far as for the company, I don't know if they're 1099 or W-2, so that plays a factor into it. Because you're 1099, that means you're an individual contractor, so it will be on you to go out and get more training other than the initial training that was provided that you signed the contract for. So that would be, amongst leaders in the Uber or Lyft community to maybe start to organize meetings and different things like that. But then, not a lot of people may necessarily feel like they should have to attend. So they might not necessarily see what the value is in that. But I definitely agree there should probably be some more safety protocols put into place. There should probably be some more, happenstance, like in a situation like this, make sure you have these numbers. And I'm not sure if they do or they don't already have these safety mechanisms in place, but making sure they got a list of pre-programmed numbers, if nothing else, to contact in case of emergency. So it sounded like she was doing everything that she thought was right and that was getting them out of that situation. So I'm not really sure to the extent of the safety protocols that they have, but it sounds like she executed perfectly.
They're actually independent contractors. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because I was trying to think of which one it was. Yeah, they are. But even still, you're putting yourself. All right. I've thought about doing Uber before, but like the thing that's always in the back of my mind is I don't know who is sitting behind me when they get in this car. I don't care if you're a woman or not. I don't know who you are. Yeah, when you look at the phone, it gives you a rating of the person's behavior. They give you a little history about the person, but not enough to really gauge if they crazy or not. So I never really went that far with it, but you would think even as a multi-million-dollar company, that would be a priority. If I'm a business owner of anything that is bringing me a significant yearly income, I want my employees to be safe. I want them to be covered. I want them to be insured. I want you to know that here we're going to go through all the procedures to make sure that you can do your job and go to and fro your home and family safe, period. Because whatever happens to you is going to be a reflection on my brand. So I have to cover all of my ducks, period. And just from a moral standpoint, I would not want somebody working for me understanding the dangers that are out here in the streets and you not be covered. I'm not going to be out there with you. You're not going to be out there with them. But I want you to know, well, at least this person has my best interest at heart. Now, see, now it's not about the paycheck. I want you to be paid according to your job. Cool, but I want you to also be protected too. They definitely need to upgrade their procedures and things of that nature. Now, as far as the domestic part, the guy crashing into the car. That's where I want to get, because that is absolutely crazy. What is going through your mind to get in the car and then follow this woman and then proceed to crash into the back of someone else's stuff? What type of rage and anger and whoa, you put your life in danger. You put the driver and your wife and probably other people's lives in danger doing that. That is fucking crazy to me. How did we get here?
Yeah, but you're saying that like he just woke up that morning and just decided to do it. I mean, I'm sure there was a series of events that probably led up to that. You said, how do you get there? By not taking care of yourself mentally. I'm sure there was stages. He just didn't get to the point where his initial reactions or triggers was to jump in the car and start ramming somebody. And I don't know what the exact situation was. If her actions may have triggered some of his traumas. Not saying that it's acceptable, but that happened. But I mean, that could be something that triggered it. Is maybe the lack of communication, empathy within whatever the situation was. And then, like everybody always talks about, is red flags. So obviously something was leading up to this point, and this could have been a point where she was seeking refuge, within that vehicle, looking for a safe space to get away from the individual and not providing closure or conversation on the other side, maybe triggered that person to respond. Maybe alcohol could have been involved, or any other stimulant. So there's a lot of things that it could have contributed, but it definitely could have been stopped prior till if people identified some issues at hand and maybe sought to get some help.
I mean, it's pretty clear that something happened before they got in the car. But what pushes somebody to that point, though? Like, I don't care how much you trigger me, especially a woman. I don't care how much you scream and yell and do all that. I'm not about to lose my shit. I don't even care if I caught you in bed with another person. I'm not about to risk my life and throw it all away over that. Why? Because one, let's say I decide to crash out. I'm in jail or dead because the alleged guy is quicker to his weapon than I am mine, or I don't know he has one. So I end up in jail or I end up dead. She survives and then she still eventually moves on. Or it's not even that extreme. I put my hand on her, I still go to jail, and she still ends up sleeping with him or somebody else. But now I'm doing time behind her actions. But that's just hypothetical. We don't really even know what happened here. The title says domestic abuse, implying that he's pretty much been beaten on her, or she's been in a series of situations with that particular person that led her to get into that car and try to get away from him. We don't know the whole backstory to it. Either way, from what I'm seeing, is it wasn't even acceptable at all. Getting in your car and then trying to run them down, I don't see how, or I can't conceive there being a scenario where that is necessary, if that makes sense, unless it would have to have been something extremely life altering for me to believe, oh, I got to go after her and prevent her from blowing up something, or like I just don't see how it even got to that point. But I know something happened, but I don't know if what happened was deserving of this level of energy.
So typically in these situations, it's not a logical thought process to it. I mean, unless somebody's is premeditated and somebody's planning to do something, this is typically a reaction, and the reaction is, now we're talking about emotion based. So somebody who's making an emotional decision is not always making the most rational decision. So, if you can't, fathom what makes somebody do something like that, I mean, it's perfectly understandable, because again, these are things that are done out of emotion. You do something and it's triggered, and the trigger is the light of the match, and the trauma is the explosion. So it's just like in the cartoons. You light it, you trigger it, and then they explode. So doing the explosion is not when you're at your most focused mind, in a moment of rage. And then again, like we talked about before, just being behind the vehicle, that's just another weapon. So it's no different than having a gun, a rock, or a stick. If you're in a vehicle, that emotions, start, the adrenaline gets to pumping, and now you can find yourself in a car accident, or you can find yourself in a moment of rage and, battle ramming somebody's vehicle. No different than if you ride down the highway and I can feel it in the air, the night comes on, those drums kick in, and then you find yourself going 25 miles faster than you were 5 minutes ago. You know what I mean? It's just that emotion, and the dopamines kick in and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely. If you can picture yourself doing something like that, that would probably be an indicator that something's wrong. So nothing wrong with not being able to see yourself, acting out that type of rage. That's a good thing. But, again, lack of accountability, lack of, getting help. And then it can also be on both ends. If somebody knows your trigger points and they intentionally, hit those triggers to get warrant the emotion that they want in that response. And people do that a lot. They know your pressure points, they know your trigger points, and then sometimes they may press them and you go too far, because there's no range. Some people go to 0 to 100. Some people, it's a slow cook, slow burn. Everybody's different. So the most important thing is to know your trigger points, identify with them, and get help. And being able to, like you said, walk through that process, whether it's counting to 10, if it's breathing, so that you don't explode and react that way. So, great points.
What's a sign that people should look out for with domestic violence? An indicator that they have a potential for it. It doesn't, because to me, it doesn't even have to be them putting their hands on you. It could be verbal. It can start with them emotionally playing around with you or manipulating you. And like it'll be so subtle that you won't see it coming until they actually do lay hands on you. So what's something that should be highlighted more going into these partnerships? They were married. I'm pretty sure at this point, if she hasn't filed for divorce, she should be, but they're married, and this is what's happening. So how do you ignore and not see that this is probably dangerous?
Because you listen to the conversations that people have. If you're in a relationship and people say, that's just the way I am, they're not willing to change. When you listen to people talk, and if you don't tell someone that something may offend you, or you don't like the way you're being communicated with, then those are early signs of lack of boundaries, lack of respect. So then if you don't respect yourself enough, that person on the other end may see how far they can go to continue to push it. And if you don't ever identify that you have an issue with something, so now you may be teetering on the verge of verbal abuse because you're not defending yourself. You're not taking up for yourself. You're just allowing what you consider to be maybe borderline disrespectful, eventually become disrespectful. And then it just eventually becomes, hey, that's just the way they talk, or that's just the way they talk to me. And if you identify it, and then now they can't take accountability because they may be in nice, naturally defensive mode because they don't want to hear what's coming out of your mouth. You're trying to tell them it's defensive to me or it's offensive to me. And if they're not receiving that information, those are early signs right there that you should probably, that there's a communication issue. And then you should probably pivot to try to fix that at that particular point. So that treat it as a check mark, right? You probably won't go any further in your relationship because that's the first check mark to identify that there's issues. Now, if you muscle through it and push through it, because people just say that, well, we've been together for this long, we can figure it out, which is not necessarily the case all of the time. It may be some of the case some of the time. But right there, you, as people say, red flags, check marks, whatever you want to call them, you're posting them. And then you look at the trail behind you as you keep muscling through in a relationship, you'll see the things that you allow by your quote unquote red flags or check marks along the path. And that's what your buildup is to disrespect, leading into verbal, nonverbal abuse, leading into somebody getting upset. And then now they can't figure out how to handle it with their hands. Their words, then the hands may come into play, or, not necessarily something more, just escalating over time. And those are your little signs along the way to see that and identify with it. But people tend to choose and turn a blind eye to it.
That's a fact. At this big old age, you should not be getting married or getting serious with anybody until you've gone through what I call that vetting stage. The difference between dating and vetting means all the difference. This woman got married to a man that she didn't know, or maybe she got married to a man that she did know, and she didn't know how to leave. Where was your family at? Where was your friends at? The people that told you this ain't a good look, maybe you need to listen to us more and back away from this. He don't mean you no well. Or maybe you just ignored them. Like you said, you ignored the signs and you continued moving forward with this because of whatever reason. And now we are here. This ain't a blame game. We both have to take the responsibility for how we got to this destination, because it takes two to be in this relationship, right? You opened your legs to him. You said I do to him, but he has to take responsibility for his part. You have an attitude problem. You have an anger problem. You might be possessive. You might be a narcissist. You might be a cheater. The list is very extensive here. We don't know. We don't know if she was a good woman. We don't know if she was a horrible woman. All we know is we got a scared one in the back of a car, fearful of her life, and rightfully so. No matter how we slice or try to paint our own picture of the situation itself, what I saw is what I saw. What I didn't see, I can only speculate on. Bottom line is, she should have never even been in that situation in the first place. But we all find ourselves in places like this at some point. It might not be to that extreme, but you know how you got there. You know how much it costs you every day to get on the bus and on the train. You know how much it costs you to fill your tank up. You know how many hours a day you got to work. You know when you got to punch in and clock out. You know who to call when you need money or you need a favor. You know who's not going to listen or put up with your crap. Just ain't no different. I don't condone what happened here. Whoever this dude is, I wish I be really hoping that more people would give both sides, because you always hear one side of a story. And in most cases, when you're on social media, you never hear the guy speak on stuff. They don't care enough. It's not that big of a deal for them to have a whole bunch of attention on them. But it would be nice to get some context in these situations, though.
Yeah, I don't know if they don't care enough. I just think it's not amplified enough. I think right now you gotta. It's a lot of men out there that's trying to get help. It's being overshadowed. It's not as glamorized. It's not it's not as popular. You'll hear people saying that that's not. We need my grandfather's type of man. We need the old men back, ones that just took it and didn't necessarily need somebody to pat them on the back for anything. They didn't need somebody telling them they did a good job. They just got up and did it. And then not knowing, that's probably the reason why they came home, got drunk at night, and beat the shit out of everybody. You know what I'm saying? On the weekends. So they'll go around and champion that type of stuff because they hear somebody else saying that. But, they won't talk about it. Again, we talk about it every day, man. Men suffering in silence. I went to a convention the other day, and I was talking to this lady, and she was saying she had never thought about that because her son, he was in his mid-30s. He had just went through a divorce, and then she was going through a divorce, and her son ended up trying to help her, coach her through her divorce with his father. And she was like, "Well, where did you figure this out?" He was like, "Well, you didn't help, and I didn't go around asking anybody else. I just went on the internet, found some men's clubs and some social clubs to attend." And she was like, "I didn't really think about it from that standpoint." And like I said, I don't think anybody is thinking about it from that standpoint because you're in such a era where it's everybody's told to do their own thing, feel a certain way. And again, we keep talking about it. Check on the strong people. And the strong people don't get checked on because they're pretending to be strong like nothing's happening to them all the time. And then that's where your issue is. So they got to learn how to ask for help because nobody's going to ask them if they're doing all right. You got to call people out. Hey, look, I'm going through some shit right now. You hadn't even stopped to ask me how I'm doing. You know what I mean? And that's what people don't want to do. They don't want to make it seem like they need it. They're searching for it. But you'll ask somebody to borrow 10 or 15 bucks. You know what I mean? You'll ask somebody for a ride somewhere. Ask somebody to go in on something for the weekend. You know what I mean? Ask somebody if they want to go on a trip on Groupons to the DR or something like that. You know what I mean? Men need to start getting together and going on guys' trips, retreats, trying to figure out a way to get their mental health together. But you got to want to do it, though.
Do we have control over our emotions anymore? Are we better at controlling them or worse at controlling them these days? Because it looked like we're just getting worse at controlling them these days. It's bad when you have somebody crashing out to this extent. You're literally getting in a 2,000, 3,000 ton vehicle barreling down on another one just out of the fact that you're angry and upset over something that could be handled so much differently. So the only way you know how to release that anger is by destroying someone else's property and causing the harm. And then you just continue to see, oh, this dude unalived her because she was cheating on him, or he thought she was cheating on him, or like the woman just recently, she got sentenced to life because she found out that her ex moved on with another woman. She drove from she ain't drive from. She caught a plane from, I can't remember exactly, but she went from like Colorado or some shit all the way to Florida.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, like that's crazy as hell. What?
Yeah, man, it's just a different time, man. Everybody's so busy doing stuff for online, man. It's not taking the time to think about, themselves in actual real life. It's so really worried about that avatar online, that online persona. You got to take care of that mental health, man, and take a break from online. Stop comparing your life to everybody's online. That's the other thing. And we might be part of the few that see something wrong with them doing that stuff. I'm sure as we see something wrong, potentially wrong with that, there's probably a group of people out there championing it on, saying I would have did the same thing. So, I mean, again, it starts with the culture, starts with the education piece. You can teach people all day long, how to handle themselves, how to seek help, but they got to want it, man. That old cliche of, giving them some water, they got to be willing to drink it. So it's the same thing. People got to want to have change. You can provide community support systems, resources available for victims. Think about it, in the Lyft drivers, in the cars. They could be considered a safe space, but again, just to go back to what you was talking about them being 1099 contractors. So now you have to think about if you want to take on that responsibility, because one, you're using your own vehicle, you're paying your own insurance. So I'm sure that company, in the best interest of the brand, you probably signed something and didn't even look at it to say that you were responsible and held liable for all that type of stuff. So now you just have to think about it, if you want to continue to do that type of work, because you do have options, whether you can drive at nighttime or in the daytime. The daytime is probably less likely to happen, but you're probably not making as much in tips. So just think about what they want to do moving forward, and how they want to handle them situations, because that's the thing with those drivers and picking people up. You never know what you're going to get, in each individual ride. And you got to take that car back home and drive your family around and do your regular duties and stuff in it as well. So that affects the drivers, mentally, overall, as well as physically and financially, because if they don't get reimbursed back, for those fees. So again, it's just in totality, it's a lot to think about, a lot to digest.
Yeah. I don't know what that woman thinking about now. You did you did something that most of us won't do anymore, and that's get involved in somebody else's mess. It's not our problem, so we just gonna keep it moving. She could have just told her, "Don't get in my car." But now your car is gone. There ain't nothing you can do with that. Who's going to cover all that? Is the husband going to take care of it? How do you move forward with that? And then to address something else that you had just said, the people who egg this stuff on, what's wrong with y'all? What's entertaining about that? What's humorous about it? Why do you feel that the only way to respond is always through violence or through being angry? And I never saw the benefits in that whatsoever, other than you're trying to satisfy a temporary emotion that's going to go away. But once it's gone, guess what? The effects of it will linger on way longer. Everything that you decide to do in that moment, that's fine until afterwards. And you still gonna have to face it. So you think it's worth completely just throwing everything away to feel like you weren't emasculated. If a person is going to be a cheater, they're going to be a cheater with you or with the next person. If they're going to have anger issues, it's going to be with you or without you. Is it worth staying in? Is it worth putting your own self through the mental stress? Is it worth going to jail for? Is it worth the unnecessary court fees? Is it worth losing your home, getting evicted, getting your children taken away from you? You got to think about all that stuff when you're dealing with emotional people or folks who are not living right or walking right. I don't know. I don't. You can't stop it, and like you said, you can have these conversations and give the information out there, but it's only going to reach but certain people. So I don't know. I'm just glad nobody here was severely hurt to the point of where like families have to mourn the loss of somebody. But this stuff has to stop too.
Yeah, no, I mean, like you said, even if it only reaches certain people, I mean, it's reaching people. So you want to look at the positive at it, you know, and then whoever you don't reach on the next campaign, you know, change the marketing scheme up, and, you know, address it a different way. But definitely, I'm not familiar if they have safety features in the apps or not. But maybe implement some different type of safety features. Maybe the pre-programmed buttons in the apps can direct you to specific hotlines. One for tracking mechanisms to make sure that it's reported the correct way. Just some different things like that, and then maybe some drivers awareness and training. Maybe this will spawn some different conversations out there. Maybe do some computer-based training, some CBTs. You know, maybe that's something that the companies can do, is maybe on their websites implement ways to identify trauma, or, you know, what to do in case of if this happens in your vehicle. So I don't know. It's all about education. So I think this is just something new. They're gonna have to pivot and adjust on the fly, because you don't hear about this happening every day. But just like they adjusted with COVID, landing in some places. I think I was in Iowa, and they had a shower curtain in the back of the taxi. I don't know what the shower curtain was supposed to do, but I guess project any saliva or anything like that, or coughing, or things that land on the shower curtain and not the driver. I don't know, but they were being ingenuitive and creating things, the individual people within their vehicles. So to stop people from being too individual, because some people could start carrying their own firearms, pepper spray, tasers, and you don't want people to kind of take the law into their own hands. But yeah, definitely implement some safety training and some awareness that they could probably do quarterly, or they can subcontract that out and contact individuals that are also 1099 and small businesses, because that's something I could probably do and help as well, was provide some training if they wanted to do that. So there's different ways to kind of go forward and look at being a more proactive versus reactive with these companies, because that's one thing people don't think about as being a 1099 is the other things that come along with it, the intangibles, you know what I mean, versus being a W-2 employee. They give you a rule book, safety book, tip book. You got to sign it, you know what I mean, to make sure you're following rules and regulations. But as a 1099 small business owners, people don't think about that stuff. They're just doing it to get the money. Not necessarily that they're putting themselves in harm's risk, and people vomiting, throwing up in the back of their vehicles and stuff like that. So maybe just need to, put some more thought into it, and maybe just, ask some questions and, ping some people and see what kind of feedback they get.
Yeah. The show we did on Tuesday was about a man in Dubai who was assaulted by another man in his back seat. Yeah, he groped and fondled him from the passenger side or the driver's side from the back. And then he got behind him, put him in a chokehold while they were driving. The driver stops the car. Somehow he manages to get out the car. The guy climbs to the front of the seat and drives off. They did arrest him though, but it was like stuff like that is why we are having this conversation in the first place, because whether or not you are the driver or you are the passenger, there needs to be more conversations about safety on both sides, because you just don't know, but you gotta be prepared for that stuff.
Well, I mean, you look at the back in the day, you look at the taxis, man. I mean, obviously they had plexiglass and everything else breaching the front and the back seats. So it's not anything new. I mean, you just take it from the taxi system and put it into your own car. You just reinvent the wheel all over again. So if you look at the model that they've had with taxis, for over 50, 60, 70 years, you probably, if you're using your personal vehicle, eventually they did it for a reason. I mean, it's not something new. It's new because you're taking it away from companies, and then you're doing it in your own personal vehicle, and you have no way of, safety precautions for transporting somebody in your vehicle. So, yeah, this isn't new. You're just seeing it all over again. So, if you're going to be in the people transport business, you need to make sure you got a vehicle that you can secure yourself in it, and the passenger as well, because the passenger is your responsibility. But yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but this isn't a no-brainer. You know what I mean? Think about taxis, how long they've been around. I mean, shit, they even had TV shows, Taxi, and all the crazy stories, Taxi Cab Confessions. I mean, there's a lot of things that come along with in that people transport business. I think people just aren't in the mindset that, again, that it's a business. They're just doing it and thinking about the quick money they can earn from it. You still got to protect yourself and the client and the customer from themselves.
That's a fact. There's been a couple of women who have been killed doing these Uber transfers. There's been a couple of men who've been drivers that were killed because they got robbed. I remember the taxis. We still have a few of them that got that barrier there. Not all of them, but they still do it. I don't honestly see Uber going in that direction or creating that space. It feels like they're just saying, well, you're an independent driver, you should already know better. Once you out there, that's on you. We don't want to have no type of responsibility for that. But at the end of the day, if things go bad with them drivers due to a customer affiliated with the work that they're doing for your company, it still can fall back on you.
Yeah, but you got to look at the legal paperwork. If you sign documents accepting responsibility, I mean, they're not going to put it out there just for it to come back on them. And this also could be a way for them to usher in all of Tesla self-driving cars. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause now you can get a ride from somebody with nobody in the car. You look out here in Austin and all these other places, you got them all over the place, just riding around, testing around, the city landscape. There's so many self-driving cars out in Austin right now. It's ridiculous. So that might be a way just to, it won't be as safe with a human in it, and then just get these self-driving cars and you don't have to worry about it. So, I mean, it depends on how you want to look at it. I mean, but yeah, being an individual business owner, that's on you. You just subcontract subcontracted out. That's all. You got to read the paperwork and see who's going to be responsible for what, because they can easily put that back on you, you know, for not making sure your vehicle is safe. So you got to be careful when you point the fingers.
I forgot about them self-driving cars. They're really like they're active though.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, it's more of them on the streets than than regular folks on the streets out in Austin. You know, again, you see them with the big old monitors and everything out there, and they're just learning the routes. They're just driving every day, back and forth every day. You got a few people getting in, some of them for testing purposes, but for the most part, a lot of them just out there figuring out, navigating throughout the city. So, and I know they said a lot of it's happening in Atlanta too, but you know they're popping up all over the place. So it won't be a problem. It may be used as a tactic to, you know, hey, it's safer to drive with nobody else in the car, or you know, you get in that car and it may have some features of, you know how it is, how they sell and market that stuff to the economy. But yeah, that's just something they have to think about. You know, driving those cars, man. It make it easy for you to get out there and make a little money, but then we have to start worrying about responsibility of other people's. That's probably when it's going to push back and be on you being an individual contractor. So just got to be careful with them type of jobs.
I wonder how that shit gonna work with impatient drivers. Because you got cars that can pretty much drive themselves. Right. How is that car going to compute how to deal with road rage and all that shit? Like folks that like to cut in front of you and they like to wait to the last minute to turn their signal going left or right. How you gonna compute that shit?
I have no idea, man. I have no idea. You'll probably have to give up your house to pay for that car. I mean, if you cause an accident or something like that. So that's how they'll probably do it, through reprimand. If you hit one of those cars or cause, because they got cameras all around them, you know, with satellite image views. So if you cause an accident, I'm sure they might not care about it. They just gonna, you know, get your ass back financially, so that it'll deter people to do it.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah,
because I know buses got them cameras on them trains. You can't drive behind a bus in a bus lane as a driver.
There you go. Yeah, you might do the same thing.
Yeah, that shit like $200 or $200 fine.
Yeah, so like your HOV lane, so they might have their own lane to prevent that from happening. Now that you mention it,
I'm still not getting in that shit. I don't care. Man, fuck that. I prefer to drive myself. I like to drive. I like to be on the road. I'm not putting my note. Now, if I was to get in one of them cars, and I'm just gonna leave it here. If I was getting one of them cars and not getting an accident due to somebody else's negligence, do I get paid too? Or does all this go to the company? Because you're not, nah.
That's a good point. You know, you got to read that fine print, man. That's a good point.
Any last thoughts on this accident with the woman and the driver?
No, again, just, you know, it seems to be the topic of every conversation, man. Whether it's planes, trains, or automobiles, there's some type of form of domestic violence going on, and definitely something that needs to be addressed. And you know, again, it just goes to, if you can't even put it on the two in the relationship anymore. If you're in that environment and you see something, you should say something. You should identify it. Hey, not sure if you're aware of these situations or what's going on. And if they are, then, I mean, you know, you wish the best for them, but you try to prevent these things before they get to that level, before they escalate, especially if you got kids involved. So just want people to be safe, especially right now around the holidays. A lot of people are kind of wound up, you know, financially. The weather's getting bad. There's a lot of things that piss people off out there today. So just try to use common sense and good judgment.
Well said. And a big thank you to everybody who pulled up this morning. I hope you got something out of today's conversation. I don't know if it's still snowing out there. I hope it is. We do have a show later on. If y'all are available to pull up, that QR you see up there at the top of the screen, that is Coach Trail's link. If y'all want to tap in with him, follow him on his channel or where he's accessible, right there. Everything you need, you know what I'm saying? Thank you both for being here this morning. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Friday. Be safe on this road if you got bad weather, and stay bundled up.
Mantra, slave songs, slave ship, rip skin, made me rip bones. But no matter how close I my ancestors speak, they tell me the tide isn't run on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting